overcoming and even actually seeing negative emotions and feelings dissolve is unbelievably freeing and empowering. I know. Once upon a time, people would look at me and say something, just in an incident, and I would just have all of this emotion absolutely flood up in me, and I would want to punch them in the nose. And I had no idea why. They would say a comment about how I look or a comment about how I was looking after my children, and I'd feel this anger just rise up in me. I didn't know then that the root of where I was getting angry was I felt judged. I felt judged by myself. I found out later by myself because I felt like I was had very high expectations and I never lived up to them. So I guess in a sense I was saying I wasn't good enough. That was one of the beliefs that I had. And that belief, when somebody criticised or judged me, just triggered off that emotion of, oh my God, there you go again. I just didn't really think about it. It was just simply that they said the comment, I would feel the feeling, and it would just flood up, and I'd literally want to roar at them. I wouldn't sometimes, but once in a blue moon, I would. I remember one time when were travelling with a young man for 6 months, and as a result of us not being able to communicate with him as far as getting up in the morning, no matter what we did, and we had been working at this for months and months and months, and we were hanging around for about an hour and more every morning waiting for him to come out of his tent. Gorgeous guy, but he just had no idea about timing, and I certainly didn't either once. And one day he was just putting too much honey on his cornflakes, and I looked at the honey that he was pouring on the cornflakes, and I literally felt this anger rise up, and I screamed at him. He ran away. We didn't see him, I think, for hours later. And I thought, what was all that about? Honey on the cornflakes? This is crazy. But it wasn't. It was that I had so much resentment, so many feelings of anger and resentment and frustration, because no matter what I did, I couldn't get through to him. No matter what I said, he wouldn't listen, no matter what my husband would say. And it was ridiculous, really. It's over nothing, but it was unresolved feelings and emotions. I didn't know then that I could have actually used what I call as the three-way perspective meditation exercise to resolve my anger, which is taking full responsibility for my feelings before I dump them on someone else. So that's when you actually bring people into your mind's eye, and under the guidance of wisdom and love, I would say, all right, how do they make me feel? And I would acknowledge all my feelings of being angry, frustrated, resentful, almost enraged because there was a lack of respect. And those emotions and feelings came from the belief deep down that I was not respected, I was not valued, I wasn't listened to, and I believed that I couldn't do anything. That actually these feelings all came from those beliefs. I didn't know that then, but now I do. And then when I would have brought this guy into my mind's eye, I could actually speak to him as though he was present in my mind's eye and tell him all my feelings, anger, resentment, frustration. And then I would express my anger. This is so healthy. And I would just, in my mind's eye, I would want to shake him. And I'd want to say to him, just wake up, for goodness sakes. Listen to us, respect us. I don't mind you being late occasionally, because I am, but day after day, when we were living with you and we've made plans and we've discussed things and then you just ignore it, makes me feel really, really angry. In my mind's eye, I would say this. And when I was emptied, allowing all the, as I call it, the scum and the dreads of my emotions to come up, and in my mind's eye, taking responsibility for it and expressing it to him in my mind, then I would ask the one who created him, the wise counselor, the wonderful counselor, what would he, as I looked at him in my mind's eye, what would he say back to me? And then I could see in my mind's eye that he was just a bit lost and not present, and he never meant any harm, and he was sorry. This is what comes to you after you express your feelings and emotions. And then I would feel sorry for him and compassion for him and understand that he was a bit vague, a bit lost, and he wasn't listening. And then I could let him go and forgive him. And then I could probably have a proper conversation. And usually when I resolve my feelings and emotions in this way, I find that either the desire to change the other person's situation goes away, or else what I find is that they change. Either I change or they change, unless it's really deep, unresolved situations and feelings in your mind's eye. Doesn't work. We have to go a little deeper, and we need a facilitator, or I needed a facilitator to help me where my really deep anger of where I felt powerless as a child. I felt like I couldn't do anything, and I felt like no one really listened to me, and so I had no sense of worth or value. So all my emotions I discovered after years and years of taking responsibility for my feelings and my thoughts and listening to the wonderful counsellor who counselled me, I now realised came often from my unresolved feelings and emotions and beliefs from my childhood or recent situations. So if you can actually give yourself permission to actually acknowledge how you're feeling, accept these feelings and emotions, even though they might be feelings of being enraged or angry or upset, then you are taking true responsibility, and you can, after accepting them, acknowledging them, accepting them, you can then do this three-way perspective. If it's just, you just can't get over it, you get stuck in the anger, you get stuck in the resentment. Let me tell you, I was stuck in resentment for years because situations weren't as I wanted them to be. People weren't as I wanted them to be. And all that did was harm me, harm my relationship, separated me from them. This is one way of dealing with your feelings and emotions. Now, another thing that I really want to speak to you about and share with you is that our logical mind can get in the way. And our logical mind can say, oh, they didn't mean it. Oh, I have to be more patient. And what we do is use our logic to deny our feelings and emotions. That just pushes them down. And while we keep on denying our horrible, angry, resentful, murderous feelings, and we don't acknowledge them and accept them and deal with them constructively, then what we do is push them down and we become depressed. And it actually affects your body. In my case, I used to press down so many negative feelings and emotions again and again because I wanted to look good and I wanted to be a good person. I wanted to have healthy relationships, but I wasn't acknowledging my authentic feelings. I didn't give myself a voice. And I didn't know how to do that in a safe way without destroying others and destroying my relationships. So remember, when you depress those feelings, instead of expressing them to yourself first and to the wonderful counsellor first, who for me is the Holy Spirit, he'll help you. He's the wonderful counsellor. And do it with a three-way perspective. Your perspective, allowing your feelings to come up, expressing it in your mind's eye to the person or into the situation and listening to them. That's the second perspective. And the third perspective is asking for wise counsel. What else would you show me about that person, about that situation? How do you want me to see it? And you gain clarity and you gain peace. And it just can change, diffuse all the negative feelings and emotions in you. And you'll find as you shift and you come to a place of peace despite what's going on, then often the circumstances around you change or they don't touch you anymore. But this for me, took a while to come to the place. I used to be pointing the finger at others and saying they need to change. It needs to change. It's not fair. It shouldn't be like this. Surely I have a voice. All of these things. Until one day I heard in my mind's eye, why don't you tell me all about this? This is your heart. How can you love me? You're supposed to love me. And the sense was I was talking to the presence of the Creator, the Creator God. These are the voices that I was hearing in my mind. And I thought, I have to express how I feel. I need to empty my heart to the one who's created my heart. And then I need to let him give me his capacity from his heart to fill it up when I empty, so I can actually have authentic relationships with other people. And so I can really have an authentic relationship with myself. So I can have an authentic relationship with my Creator instead of pretending to be super good and super whatever. I guess super good was it, because as a child I felt so wrong and I wanted to be good. So it didn't work. So be real, be honest, be authentic. Give yourself a permission. You can write the feelings down and all the feelings will lead to the beliefs. The beliefs usually are, I'm not good enough, it's my fault, I'm an idiot, I'm ugly, and they create all the feelings and emotions. So write down your feelings and emotions. Go back to what, ask the wonderful counsellor to show you what are you thinking and believing, and then ask him, how do you see this? What's your perspective? It's another way for Christians to say putting on the mind of Christ. But you can't get there until you unload your feelings and emotions. The emotions and your feelings are not wrong. It's what we do with them that makes them right or wrong. You have a right to feel. You have a right to feel anything in any way, but to take full responsibility for them and use them, writing them down, emptying, expressing them in your mind's eye to the personal situation and gaining wisdom's perspective. Or else, when I first began, I used to pick up some coloured pencils and I used to draw. When I was angry, and I'd pick up whatever colour, I felt like, and I just would often pick up red and I'd scribble it everywhere, and I would be a way of releasing my anger and my resentment, and I would get diffused, and then I would gain clarity and I would see the situation. When you get unblocked from your negative feelings and you allow that to happen, in my case certainly, and I allowed the spirit of love to come and fill my heart first before something changing or some situation changing. Then when I was filled up, more often than not, the very thing that I had desired in the first place would happen, or else it would change. Trust me, I used to be an ocean of emotions, and more often than not they were negative feelings, and as I did what I've shared with you, took responsibility, acknowledged, accepted them, and drew them on a piece of paper, wrote about them, drew them, or did them, express them in my mind's eye under the guidance of wisdom and love, the wonderful counsellor. Until I did that, I was a bit of a mess, and I'd be triggered off, and then I'd turn on myself, and then I'd hate myself, and that would divide myself even more from wisdom and love. And then as I hated myself, other people would hate me when I did this. It only compounded and destroyed what I really wanted, which was healthy relationships, healthy body, healthy mind, a heart that would love unconditionally, which I discovered you often can't do without gaining wisdom's perspective, and a healthy mind, allowing myself to have my thoughts and my emotions and gaining wisdom's perspective. So have a go and see what it's like. But let me take you through this meditation. It's brief and it's a practice right now of what you can do easily under the guidance of wisdom, love, truth, the wonderful counsellor. Whenever you feel negative emotions and you can't get rid of them. See how this quick way of trying to express those, if they're very surface, is go for a run, go for a jog, go and kick some sand, go for a swim. If it's just very surface, that can just be a way of expressing it. So it's another little tiny tool. But let's do this meditation. I recommend that you just be still in a comfortable chair, close your eyes, because then you don't look at me and you don't get distracted, and let love, wisdom, truth, the Holy Spirit, the wonderful counselor, guide you. Right, so just take a deep breath and breathe in the air around you, and as you breathe out, let go. And a second breath, become present to the breath as you breathe in through your nose and your mouth, and breathe in the breath of wisdom and love and truth, and allowing the Spirit of truth to guide you, and breathe out all the tension. Now, as you close your eyes, I'm going to ask the wonderful counselor to bring into your mind's eye the person or situation that is creating all this negative emotion in you. As that situation or that person comes into your mind's eye, look at that person or situation, and I'm going to ask the wonderful counselor to show you all the negative feelings you have towards that person or that situation. Just acknowledge them and accept them and speak them out to that person or into that situation. Tell them or tell the situation just how you feel. You could feel angry, express your anger. You could feel resentful, express that. You could feel sad because you feel powerless and can't do anything. Express those feelings, maybe a frustration. Now, as you look at them or the situation, and particularly if it's a person, look into their eyes as though they were present. This is going to be for their good as well. I'm going to ask the wonderful counselor to show you, how would you like to express your anger? Look at them and let that anger come up, and let that way you would like to express it be shown, even if you want to shake them. In your mind's eye, if you want to shake them, if you want to dong them on the head, hit them on the head, in your mind's eye, do it. It's a way of in a healthy way of releasing your anger and your rage. I've had some people want to kill the other person. Tell them you want to do that. Get it up and get it out so you don't do it. And right now, if you want to say you're fed up with them, you've had enough of them, you want to walk away, express those feelings. Just let them flow. Allow yourself to express in the presence of the wonderful counselor for the good of all. Now, as you look at that person or that situation, I'm going to ask for a special, what I call as a grace, a gift, for you to be able to look at that person in your mind's eye or that situation, and I'm going to ask wisdom, love, the wonderful counselor, to show you how he, wisdom, love, truth, would like you to see that now. Would that person like to respond to you? Look at them. Listen to them. Notice if you feel different now, having unloaded your feelings Is there a shift in how you feel towards them, the way you think? All your feelings and emotions could be diffused, they could have dissolved. And I hope they have, because this is a very easy way of dealing with surface emotions and feelings, or sometimes even deeper feelings and emotions, particularly when you're angry. Now, the third perspective is the wonderful counselor, the creator of all things. How would you, wonderful creator, wonderful counselor, show them that person or that situation now? Just look at them in your mind's eye and listen and look and sense and see if you feel differently towards them or the situation. Notice as we come to a close of the three-way perspective meditation, if you're feeling any different, if those emotions of frustration, anger, resentment, hatred, anger towards yourself or to others have just dissolved, have they been overcome by expressing them honestly? And I want to thank you for listening, and we'll be doing many more little seminars like this with meditations, and I recommend that you practice being still each day, being present to yourself, listening to yourself, to your needs, listening to your feelings, listening to your thoughts, but always end up listening to the one who created you, the wise counselor, the spirit of love, spirit of truth, and have this wonderful relationship with the one who can fill you with a real peace and a contentment despite what's going on in your life. And then you'll find life around you will change. Thank you for listening.